Hello friends, this is Dr. Satinder Kaur, Botany faculty from Potential and Concept Educations. Today we are going to start with the Calvin cycle, a part of photosynthesis of class 11 syllabus. I hope everybody is aware. It's a very important topic from the NEET point of view. So without wasting time, let's start with Calvin cycle. The first part is, why is Calvin cycle known as Calvin cycle? The Calvin cycle is known so because Melvin Calvin was the scientist who discovered this Calvin cycle, discovered the cycle in green alga. And what was that green alga? That green alga was known as chlorella. So we are having chlorella in which Calvin studied the Calvin cycle, but he had used the radioactive carbon using what? Using radioactive carbon, which is C14. So because of the scientists, it's known as Calvin cycle. The next point, this is said to be independent of light. This cycle is independent of light. Because it is said to be independent of light, it's also known as dark reaction. So what is the other term used for that? Dark reaction. Now, the dark reaction is dependent upon the products of the light reaction. So what are the products of the light reaction? From the light reaction, we get oxygen, we get ATP and NADPH. Now what is this? This oxygen is said to be the byproduct of photosynthesis or the light reaction. So this diffuses out of the cell, it's gone. When we talk about ATP, I hope everybody is aware, ATP is adenosine triphosphate. And what is this? This is the reduced coenzyme. What is that? NADP, nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide phosphate, the reduced form of it. ये दोनों के दोनों together, what is this known as? This together is known as assimilatory power. What is this known as? Assimilatory power. So what does the word assimilatory power mean? Assimilatory power means which is helping in the formation of something. Power है, कुछ बनाने में help कर रहा है. So what is this helping in? What has been synthesized out here? It is the product of the dark reaction, the main product of the photosynthesis. What is that known as? Carbohydrate. So carbohydrate is synthesized out here. क्या synthesized है? Carbohydrate. And that is what? The sugars. It's been synthesized. Because you are going to have the synthesis of the sugar with the help of ATP and NADPH, which is the assimilatory power produced from the light reaction. Synthesis हो रहा है, we also call this to be, what is that? Biosynthetic phase. Biosynthetic phase. This cycle occurs in all the photosynthetic plants. All the photosynthetic plants undergoes this reaction. And in which part of the photosynthetic plants do we have the Calvin cycle? This occurs in the stroma of the chloroplast. Where do you have that? In the stroma of the chloroplast. I hope you are aware the other part of the chloroplast is known as the grana or the thylakoids. There we are going to have the light reaction. So the Calvin cycle is divided into how many steps? The 3 steps for that. The first one is carboxylation, the second is reduction, and the third one is regeneration. So let's understand these steps systematically. The first part is carboxylation. So here what happens? Some compound is being carboxylated out here. So what does it mean? That means the carbon dioxide is fixed in this particular case. So which compound is being carboxylated? So let's talk about that. The compound which gets carboxylated is known as ribulose 1,5. It's known as bisphosphate, biphosphate, diphosphate is the same words. The biphosphate undergoes carboxylation. The first thing, where do you have that? I just mentioned it occurs in the stroma part. So this is a 5-carbon compound. Ribulose 5-carbon compound, 2 phosphates attached to that at the first and the 5th carbon. It undergoes carboxylation. The point is, when it undergoes carboxylation, it requires an enzyme for that. And that enzyme is known as Rubisco. So let's understand this Rubisco enzyme first. So I'm writing it out here. Rubisco, this is rubis, coming from this word. Then we are going to have the C and the O. This Rubisco is a bifunctional enzyme which undergoes what? Carboxylation and oxidation. Depending upon what? Depending upon the concentration of the carbon dioxide and the oxygen. If you are going to have more of the carbon dioxide, you prefer karega what? Carboxylation. If you are going to have more of the oxygen, it prefers what? Oxidation. And it's also dependent upon other external factors like temperature and all. But yahan par, because carbon dioxide is more, we are going to go for the carboxylation of ribulose 1,5-biphosphate. Look at that. This is what? 5-carbon compound. This is a 1-carbon compound. Now, technically, it should be forming what? A 6-carbon compound. But ye jo 6-carbon compound hai, it's not a stable compound. So what are we going to have the product as? The product is known as phosphoglyceric acid. What is this? Phosphoglyceric acid. I'll be writing the short form for that, PGA. It is what? Glyceric acid, but having the phosphate at the 3rd carbon because it's a 3-carbon compound. The very first stable product of the Calvin cycle is phosphoglyceric acid. Kitna carbon? 3. So that is why the Calvin cycle is also known as what? It's known as C3 cycle. So we are having so many terms used for it. Fine. But because this 5-carbon, this is 1 carbon, this is 3 carbon. So what are we going to have? We are going to have 2 molecules of this phosphoglyceric acid. Phosphoglyceric acid bolo, phosphoglycerate bolo, does not make any difference. The next part out here. This phosphoglyceric acid undergoes the next step, which is known as reduction. Now, let's talk about the reduction. This phosphoglyceric acid reduces to what? Phosphoglyceraldehyde. But for this reduction step, we are dependent upon the light reaction. Kya mila tha humko light reaction se? It was what? Assimilatory power. So let's go for this step. This 3-phosphoglyceric acid along with ATP, adenosine triphosphate. Kya hai isme? Phosphate. It attaches to this. Now what does it form? It's already having a phosphate at the 3rd carbon. Ab ye phosphate kahan lagega? It is going to attach to the 1st carbon. So it forms what? 1,3-diphosphoglyceric acid. Okay? It's going to form 1,3-diphosphoglyceric acid. You can write the word di also. No problem with this. Okay? Now, abhi tak to reduce hua nahi. When I use ATP, ADP is produced because 1 phosphate has been added out here. Then what happens? 1,3-diphosphoglyceric acid reacts with what? NADP, H. What is this? Along with that, nicotinamide, adenine, dinucleotide phosphate, the reduced form of it. Now this is going to reduce the acid to an aldehyde. So what do we get? We are going to get 3-phosphoglyceraldehyde. ठीक है? Aldehyde, phosphoglyceric acid. इसको मैंने aldehyde बना दिया, तो I am going to get so. But remember, ये कितना molecules आया था? We had 2 molecules of that. So ultimately, how many molecules of this? 2 molecules of this. How many ATP required? 2 molecules of this. How many this? 1,3-diphosphoglyceric acid. Automatically 2 molecules. I proceed further with the 2 molecules of 1,3-diphosphoglyceric acid. So 2 molecules ले लिया and reacts with what? NADPH. Again, kitna molecules of that? 2 molecules of it. How many molecules of phosphoglyceraldehyde do I get? I am going to get 2 molecules of this. अब मेरे पास क्या है? I am having 2 molecules of 3-carbon compound. So technically क्या हुआ मेरे पास? 6-carbon compound. And this is the step where I am going to have the formation of glucose. So glucose has been formed. Glucose or the sugar is been synthesized. From where? From the 2 molecules of 3-carbon compound. Molecules of 3-carbon compound. And what is this 3-carbon compound? What is that? It's known as phosphoglyceraldehyde. So this is fine. Finally, we have got what? The glucose formation, the product of it. That is why, what did I use the word for it? Biosynthetic pathway. But now understand, what did I do out here? In this particular case, we went for what? We have reduced the carbon dioxide. Reduction of carbon dioxide. To what? To the carbohydrate. This is the carbohydrate which has been formed out here. So inorganic carbon, which is carbon dioxide, converts into the organic form of it. What is the organic form of it? The carbohydrate, the glucose. Now, because we are going to have the reduction of the carbon dioxide into the carbohydrate, it's also known as, what is that known as? PCR. अब जब मैंने PCR लिखा, तो कितना लोगों ने मन में सोचा पॉलीमरेज चेन रिएक्शन? नो, आई एम नॉट टॉकिंग अबाउट दैट. व्हाट इज PCR? Photosynthetic carbon reduction. What is it? Photosynthetic carbon reduction. We are going to have the reduction of the carbon out here. That is the inorganic form of the carbon converts into the organic form. Fine, we are done with this. Our product has been formed. But the ultimate step, what is that? The regeneration. किसका regeneration करना हमको? We are going to have the regeneration of what? The regeneration of ribulose 1,5-biphosphate. The regeneration of ribulose 1,5-biphosphate. It's a very crucial step. अगर ये नहीं होगा तो you cannot have the Calvin cycle properly. If you want the Calvin cycle uninterrupted, you should be having regeneration of ribulose 1,5-biphosphate. But for this step again, we require what? ATP. That means we are going to have the phosphorylation of. We are going to have phosphorylation in this step. Kiska phosphorylation? I am going to teach you right now in the cyclic form. Phosphorylation occurs out here. When I say phosphorylation occurs, we require the ATP. But kitna molecules of ATP? Just a single molecule. One ATP required. One ATP required for what? It is required for the regeneration of ribulose 1,5-biphosphate. So let's study this Calvin cycle in the cyclic form of it. To start with that, what did we have? We had ribulose 1,5-biphosphate. ठीक है ना? फिर क्या किया था? It went for carboxylation. Fine. Now, when this reacts together, what was the product of this? What was the product of the first step? What was that? Carboxylation. The product is 3-phosphoglyceric acid. Fine. Then after the reduction, we had this 3-phosphoglyceric acid converted into 3-phosphoglyceraldehyde. But उससे पहले बीच में क्या बना था? 1,3-diphosphoglyceric acid. Now, this was converted into 3-phosphoglyceraldehyde. इतना हमने पढ़ा. Let's go back to that. Coming back to the word, this carbon dioxide which is there, the inorganic form of carbon converts into the organic form of the carbon and क्या बनाते हैं हम लोग? Glucose, which is C6H12O6. Fine. That means how many carbon dioxide do we require? This carbohydrate comes from this carbon dioxide. That means this is the carbon out here. तो इसको 6 बनाने के लिए कितना चाहिए हमको carbon? It should be 6. So that automatically means that the Calvin cycle operates how many times to get one molecule of glucose? This Calvin cycle occurs 6 times. कितनी बार होता है? It occurs 6 times. So let's start with this. What are we going to start with? We are going to take 3 molecules of ribulose 1,5-biphosphate and 3 molecules of carbon dioxide. Multiplied. Reacts with that. Okay? Chalo. Plus. So when one molecule of ribulose 1,5-biphosphate, which is a 5-carbon compound, undergoes carboxylation, which is a 1-carbon compound, हमारे पास आया था 3-phosphoglyceric acid, a 3-carbon compound, तो कितना molecules आया था? 2, है ना? But अब मैंने क्या लिया? 3 molecules of ribulose 1,5-biphosphate and 3 molecules of carbon dioxide. अब ये मेरे पास कितना आएगा? Think about that. It should be 6. So I get 6 molecules of that. Fine. So when I go for this, taking 6 molecules of 3-phosphoglyceric acid, automatically I am going to get 6 molecules of 1,3-diphosphoglyceric acid. But इसके बनाने के लिए मुझको क्या चाहिए? I require what? ATP. I use this ATP out here which converts into ADP और इसका एक phosphate is being added to this. But अगर ये 6 है, ये 6 है, I'm supposed to take 6 out here और ये भी 6 बन जाएगा. Next, 6 molecules of 1,3-diphosphoglyceric acid is being reduced to 3-phosphoglyceraldehyde. तो कितना molecules of that? Automatically 6 molecules of this. But for this step, what did we study? The NADH to NADPH2. H2 लिखो, H लिखो, H plus लिखो, that's the same thing. It converts into what? NADP. So what do I require? I take the hydrogen, the reduced form of it, in the reduction of this to formation of the phosphoglyceraldehyde. तो कितना molecules of NADPH मैं लूँगी? I'm going to take 6 molecules of this and 6 molecules of this are being formed. Now, once I have 6 molecules of 3-phosphoglyceraldehyde, now let's study this once again. Go back to the starting part of it. अब हमने क्या पढ़ना है? We are going to count the number of carbons out here. तो देखिए, 3 molecules of ribulose 1,5-biphosphate. कितना carbon? This is 5 carbon, 5 into 3. कितना carbon? 15 carbon. तो I had 15 carbon from this. And यहाँ पे 3 molecules of carbon dioxide, that means what? 3 carbon from this. तो मेरे पास 15 plus 3 carbon makes it what? 18 carbon. अब मेरे पास कितना carbon है यहाँ पे? 18. Let's talk about this. 6 molecules of 3 carbon compound. तो 6 into 3. What is this? Again 18. I'm having what? 18 carbon in this step too. ठीक है? Let's talk about this step. Let me mark it as 18. Again, 6 molecules of 3 carbon compound. What is this? Again, I'm going to have 18 carbon compound. So 18 carbons in this. Again, I'm going to have 6 molecules of 3 carbon compound. तो कितना carbon? I'm still going to have 18 carbon. तो अभी तक all the steps are having what? 18 carbon. Fine. Now, when I'm going to have 6 molecules of 3-phosphoglyceraldehyde, 1 molecule of that is given out. That means 3-phosphoglyceraldehyde is out and we proceed further with 6 में से एक निकाल लिया. कितना बचा? 5. I'm going to have 5 molecules of 3-phosphoglyceraldehyde. That means कितना carbon? This is 5 molecules of 3 carbon compound. मेरे पास कितना बचा? I'm having 15 carbon. So mind you, अभी तक मैं सब 18 carbon, 18 carbon, 18 carbon, 18. 3 मैंने यहाँ पे बाहर निकाल दिया. और अब मेरे पास कितना है to proceed further? 15 carbon. Now go back to the word. अब मुझको बनाना क्या है? Regeneration. किसका? I'm going to have the regeneration of ribulose 1,5-biphosphate. पर उसको बनाने से पहले, because I'm having what? 3-phosphoglyceraldehyde, I'm going to get ribulose 5-phosphate. Ribulose 5-phosphate is कितना carbon compound? 5 carbon compound. ये क्या था मेरे पास? 5 molecules of 3 carbon. तो I'm going to have 3 molecules of this 5 carbon. I hope now you can count the number of carbon. This is what? 15 carbon, 5 molecules of 3 carbon or 3 molecules of 5 carbon gives me what? 15 carbon out here. Fine. Now this 15 carbon compound which is ribulose 5-phosphate, हमने क्या बनाना था यहाँ पर? हमने बनाना है ribulose 1,5-biphosphate. This is again a 15 carbon compound. I can go for the regeneration of it. But इसमें क्या है? Phosphate at the 5th position. इसमें कहाँ है phosphate? At the 1st and the 5th position. So what do I require? ATP. So I require ATP, which helps in the phosphorylation of it. If you remember, अभी थोड़ी देर पहले हमने पढ़ा था, the regeneration of RUBP requires what? ATP. ATP जब react करता है, उसको हम लोग क्या बोलते हैं? Phosphorylation. So I'm going to get what? ADP. But कितना molecules था मेरे पास ribulose 5-phosphate का? I had 3. So I'm going to utilize 3 molecules of ATP, which converts into 3 molecules of ADP. ADP, diphosphate, triphosphate, एक इस पे लग गया, तो we are going to have the formation of it. So look at this cycle once again. This step is known as what? Carboxylation. What is this step? These two steps together is known as what? Reduction. ठीक है ना? Reduction. And what about this? This is known as, these steps are known as regeneration. चलिए. I just mentioned that this Calvin cycle occurs how many times? 6 times. But अभी मैंने यहाँ पे क्या लिया? I have taken 3 times for this. That means everything has to be multiplied by 2. So this cycle, which is 3, has to be multiplied by 2. So we get 6 times out here. So let's have a look once again. To form 1 molecule of glucose, तो मैंने तो glucose बनाया नहीं यहाँ पे. So how do I get that? So if I go for taking this 6 molecules of ribulose 1,5-biphosphate and 6 molecules of carbon dioxide, automatically यहाँ पे मुझको क्या मिलेगा? 12 molecules of phosphoglyceraldehyde, है ना? तो यहाँ पर क्या होगा? Instead of having 1 molecule of 3 phosphoglyceraldehyde, I am going to get 2 molecules of this. अभी एक molecule है when it is 3, it happens to be what? 2 molecules of this when it is 6. So this 2 molecules of, so 1 glucose is being formed from 2 molecules of, किससे? 2 molecules of 3 phosphoglyceraldehyde. So this is कितना carbon compound? This is a 3 carbon compound. This is कितना carbon compound? A 6 carbon compound. So that means 2 molecules of this. Fine. ये हमारे पास आ गया. Let's talk about this once again in the form of ATP and NADPH2. To form 1 molecule of glucose, अब हमारे पास यहाँ पे glucose बन गया. This forms what? Glucose or the sugar. It's been formed out here. To form 1 molecule of glucose, कितना ATP चाहिए? Have a count. यहाँ पे कुछ नहीं है. Look at this. This is 6 ATP. फिर कोई ATP नहीं. यहाँ पे कितना? 3 ATP. 6 plus 3, that makes it 9. But when I take 3 molecules of it, but if I take 6 molecules of this, so what is this? 9 ATP into 2. So what is that? That makes it 18 ATP. Okay. To form 1 molecule of glucose, it is 18 ATP. But we have used what? NADPH also. तो कितना NADPH out here? Look at this. No NADPH. यहाँ पे कितना? 6. No NADPH anywhere else. So 6 molecules of NADPH. When I take this 3 molecules of carbon dioxide, लेना मुझको कितना था? 6 molecules of it. So what is this? 6 NADPH into 2 makes it what? 12 NADPH. So that means ultimately to form 1 glucose molecule, we require what? 18 ATP and 12 NADPH. Okay. Or this glucose, when it has been formed, we have gone for the reduction of what? The carbon dioxide too. So if I ask you to reduce 6 molecules of carbon dioxide, if 6 molecules of carbon dioxide are reduced, तो कितना ATP लगा? I hope you understand. 6 molecules of carbon dioxide, when they are reduced, they form 1 glucose molecule. So 6 carbon dioxide reduction or 1 glucose formation, the answer remains the same. तो कितना लग गया? It is 18 ATP and 12 NADPH. Again I am repeating, NADPH plus H. आपको एक ही चीज़ है, NADPH2 लिख सकते, no problem with that. Or if I talk about 1 carbon dioxide molecule reduced, तो कितना है reduction of that? How many ATP, how many NADPH2? Automatically divide this with what? 6. So what do I get? 3 ATP molecules. And divide this with 6. What do I get? And 2 NADPH2 molecules. So in your paper, they may ask you 3 molecules of carbon dioxide which is reduced, or 4 molecules of that which can be multiplied with this. So here we wind up with what? One of the fastest factory occurring in the plant body. That is why we call this photosynthesis to be an anabolic process, formation wala process. I hope the Calvin cycle is clear to you. If you have any problem with this, any doubts with this, you can mention in the comment section. I'll try to clarify those too. Take care and keep enjoying Botany with Dr. Satinder Kaur. Bye-bye. Thank you.